So one of the highlights here at Gamescom has been seeing Mirror's Edge Catalyst in action, proper, see more of the game, revealing it. And as far as I understand it, I talked to Patrick Sutherland a while back, it was actually you who came up with a concept for sort of bringing this second Mirror's Edge about. Can you tell us a little bit about what the vision originally was to make this game?
Oh, that's very kind of him. It wasn't me alone. Actually, we were a small team that was asked to, okay, so if you look at Mirror's Edge and you wanted to bring Mirror's Edge back, what would you want to do if you can just use your wild imagination? And the most important thing to us was that we wanted to create a city that Faith could, explore and free roam, and that was one of the most important components to that pitch. It was really about not a bunch of linear levels, but creating this beautiful city of glass that has a personality, that has a character, and that Faith will get to know and explore as you play through the game. That was the core component, and then there's of course a lot of different other things, like we wanted to make sure to integrate the combat into the fluidity of the movement and make sure that it works as an extension to the movement, and we wanted to tell Faith's origin story. We wanted to make sure that our players understood more about her, who she is, why is she doing what she's doing, what does she stand for, and give our players some hints to what happened to her in the past. So those were like the components. I think what Patrick really liked about this was the aspect of this big city that's just fun to navigate and filled of fun things to do, and where you actually move fluidly from the story critical path missions into a building, out again, and just never stop for a loading screen. And I think that's really what clicked for him, like, this sounds awesome, let's do it.
Because one of the things with the original was that I felt that there was a lot of story told through the building, through the city, but perhaps you didn't get that sense of it because it was linear levels that you were moving through. So it wasn't conveyed in the same way as you would, just exploring an open city.
Yeah, I think so. I think that there is a lot of really great things in that game, in the levels as well, but just when you're free roaming the city, I can tell you because I played it quite a lot now, it's so amazing. You're running across the rooftops and all of a sudden the sun starts to settle, and it's just a different experience than when you last time was there, and have these great vistas and it's beautiful, and then you just decide to go on a mission, you go into a building and it's more puzzly, and then you just play that and you get out again and okay, what I'm gonna do now, and it's a really cool feeling. It's very, I used to say meditative because I just like to be there. It's kind of hard to convey, but it's about this feeling of it's just nice to be here. I just want to be here. I don't even have to do anything specific. I just love being in the City of Glass, and that's pretty cool.
And of course, DICE is all about sandbox gameplay, and sort of being able to move around freely in the city sort of encourages that. Is that something that you designed the city in mind, with that in mind, to sort of allow players that freedom of sort of expressing themselves through how they move around?
Yeah, so you start the game with just a smaller area of the city, and as you play through the main missions you will open up more and more, and towards the end it really becomes this playground where you do whatever you want, and you will have the ability to do new things. You can also get to new areas and even if an early area, you will be able to get to areas within that area you couldn't before, so it's kind of becoming this dynamic environment where you're like always finding new stuff to do, and it's just a lot of fun.
Another thing I picked up on there is the fact you're doing the origin story of Faith. What do you feel it is? What is it that you want to explore about that origin and her origin, and how does that sort of help the greater narrative?
Well, I think that after the first game, people really liked Faith as a character. She's really cool, but there was a lot of questions as well. It's like we don't really know who she is, and we didn't really get to know a lot about her. It's like, this is a cool character, but then she's thrown into this little crime story, and it doesn't really develop her character a lot. So we wanted to make sure that in Mirror's Edge Catalyst she's got this proper character development. So she won't be the same person towards the end of the game as in the beginning. You will see her transformation. And you will also see a little bit glimpses into her past, so you will actually see what happened to parts of her family and some of the things that has shaped her over time. So, and it was also important to put her in the middle of something important, like a national conflict. It's still a personal story and about what happens to her, but then she starts to affect people around her. And we really wanted to make sure to bring this together in a way that it feels like, she feels like a proper character, and not just someone you play, but you understand her more and you know her more.
So anytime you have a subject matter like science fiction, without perhaps even knowing it consciously, it sort of gets shaped by sort of the current day things, and I'm sure Mirror's Edge was, Would you say that Mirror's Edge Catalyst has also been shaped by anything that's currently happening and that is different from the original?
Yeah, so we have the world and the universe we worked a lot with to make the mythology a lot richer. So there is a lot more backstory to the whole world, not only to the city but also to what's around it and the nation and what's beyond the nation and what's happened there in the past. And also we've moved more towards the city being ruled by these mega corporations. And it's kind of, the story is a little bit like, imagine what we have today, where like all the big corporations know everything about you, they track everything you buy and what you do and who you talk to and everything. And imagine if all of them went together and turned evil and started to use that against you. So it's kind of what we have today, but then with a little twist. And it's a little bit too close for comfort, but it's still, we're still not really there. But I think that's what makes it a bit interesting, because everyone can relate to it, but it's still with a little bit of a twist.
I mean, I guess that's the thing, because we don't really want to play a game about sort of that's too heavy on that, that's too sort of pointing fingers and saying like this is good and this is bad. It's more like this is what might happen or where we might go.
It's just there. It's just we're not putting it on your face. It's more like you will play it through a great story, and these are the things that are happening around you, and there's all this story and lore you can read up on if you want, but it's not something that you have to do. So it's just really about creating a world and a universe that's interesting, and that we can create a lot of things. I mean, we're doing a comic as well, and we're doing stuff around the game, and everything just ties into this rich mythology, and I think that's really cool.
So open world games are, let's face it, a dime a dozen these days. A lot of people are doing them. What way would you say that Mirror's Edge Catalyst sort of differentiates itself from the pack?
Well, a lot of games which is about just roaming around and doing whatever you want, they are the gameplay in them is often fighting or doing something else, while in Mirror's Edge the gameplay is the moving. So just moving around in this city is what's fun. It's fun to just go from one place to the other. It's not like, oh, I need a horse because it's so boring to go from here to there, so I need to do it faster. It's actually fun to do it. So I think that's what makes it so unique. It's extremely fun to navigate this city.
So no fast travel then?
We don't know that. We might talk more about that later.
Oh, I hinted that. Multiplayer is something that I'm thinking about that could be interesting for this, or just challenging other players with sort of times, and because I think that competitive side of the original game was something that was very appreciated. Have you looked at that in any way, and are you ready to talk about it?
Not really. I mean, we do say that we do have a strong online component. You will be able to challenge your friends and play with them in different kinds of ways or versus, but we're not talking about that in detail. We'll do that later this year.
Right. Well, we'll have to wait for that then. And Mirror's Edge Catalyst is due out early next year. That's still a plan?
It's February 25th for Europe on PC, Xbox One and PlayStation 4.
And you can look forward to learn more about the game on Gamereactor, and thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me.